This is Brad A. Milford with the Unlimited Business Wisdom Podcast, where leaders, seasoned entrepreneurs, and business owners share their wisdom. It's straight to the point to respect people's time, and because we know knowledge and wisdom turn to business possibility, and possibility mixed with support and action become reality. In this podcast, we discuss leadership, sales, marketing, operations, team development, quality, and finance to drive sustainable results and everlasting impact to make the world a better place. Thanks for joining us. Hey, Orrin, welcome to Unlimited Wisdom Podcast. Thanks so much for being here.
Thanks for having me, Brad.
Absolute pleasure. I'm looking forward to this. If you get us kicked off and tell us a little bit in your own words about who you are and what you do, I'd be grateful.
Yes, for sure. So I'm a very happy and grateful soul. If I were to just kind of speak in broad general strokes, I share my life with an amazing woman. Her name is 𝐃𝐨𝐮𝐫. We were blessed with a young girl. I was 45 when she was born. I'm 48 now. So she's 3 years old. Her name is 𝐿𝐿𝐿, and she's just the joy of my life. And I'm an entrepreneur, and I absolutely love what I do. Despite the ups and downs and the challenges and the intensity of it, I feel very, very blessed and grateful to wake up every day and really look forward to what I do. And a big part of that sits in, so I've had various kind of jobs at university. I was a waiter and did various things, but the main thing I've done since pretty much 1995 and permanently since 97 is this business called Netsurit, and our purpose is supporting the dreams of the doers. And on the people side, the aspiration of our culture is to create a safe space where people can do truly great work, but also live a deeply purpose-driven and meaningful life and be balanced. So we've programmatized that aspiration. And on the customer side, we really are either our customer's IT department or we augment their IT department. Our ideal customer profile, Brad, is approximately 25 to 1,000 user companies. And we look after the operational technology environment. And we also do some pretty exciting stuff over and above that that's very ROI driven.
Love it. I love so many things about what you just delivered. One, I love that you started out with family. I mean, you started right there. And the fact that you love what you do, entrepreneurship, the ups and downs, no question about it. Everybody listening and watching, all the entrepreneurs are going, yep, we know all about that, right? So we're right there with you. But you also said some pretty key points there it's about the doing, right? And it's a safe space about the doing, and then the tech aspects. So I know I just summarized and paraphrased, but did I capture that pretty well? We're going to dive in here in a second, but is there anything that I might have left out that you thought was important?
No, I just like the fact that you honed in on the doing, because even though the purpose is supporting the dreams of the doers, we make it quite clear with our people, we're going to support them, but they're going to do. And that's a key dynamic. So I like it that you singled out the word doing.
I love it. I'm always looking for the doers, right? The dreamers are cool too, but the doers, that's who excites me.
Yeah.
I love that. Orrin, what's the best thing about being in business?
I think the first and foremost, it's the people I get to spend so many of these hours of my life with. When I look at the amount of waking hours that I put into anything, my entrepreneurial journey and this business that I call home, I've spent more time in that probably than anything else if you factor out sleeping. So and when you look at the people that you get to share that day with, that's what brings this inspiration And so that's probably the piece that I enjoy the most.
Love it. Being in the people business can be maddening sometimes, but it can also be pretty awesome. So.
No, very, very, very rewarding. You know, we're just over 300 people across multiple offices, and you know, when I look at our culture, and the one part of it is to be very explicit about what you want in your life. And we call that a dream book, which is your top 10 personal goals and dreams visualized. Sometimes people have left, and 5 years later, I get a picture of them, and they've made one of their dreams come true. And, you know, for them, it might be a small thing, but you have no idea how much happiness and connectedness that brings into my life. So, yeah, I'm super, super grateful for that piece. So.
I love that. And the follow through, I imagine a couple of years later, that's got to be super rewarding. There's somebody sharing something that's, you know, life changing for them, and that's awesome. Love that. The impact is truly a piece that any entrepreneur, anybody listening, anybody watching, I mean, we all love that impact piece, right? But getting specific on what that impact is also really important. So I love it. Thanks so much for sharing. We're going to dive in here a little bit more. Here's one of my favorite questions, right? As an integrator, an operator, and I'm sure you share this, like, I love this question for this reason, because we hear from other business owners, they're getting so much business sometimes that the chaos or the overwhelm that comes with that, sometimes that feeling can be a struggle at times. Like, what would you be willing to share your thoughts on that topic?
Yeah, sure. I think, you know, the growth of any business, or even being in an entrepreneurial business where you're just struggling for survival, you know, it can be very overwhelming. And, you know, the idea of balancing family and your health and your faith and whatever it might be is one of life's constant work in progress projects. And I think, you know, there's definitely the tone that I think a leader sets in a business ripples into the culture. You know, so if the leader is sitting at their desk from 5 a.m. to 10 p.m. with a Red Bull, and you know, and they're just putting out this idea that it's all about the hours in the day, and the more hours I can work, the more I'm going to achieve. That's what you're going to feel and see in your culture. But if your people can see you leading a balanced life, making the most of the 7 to 9 hours that you might be working in the day, delivering optimally in that time, that's what you will see in your people. So that's something that we aspire to in our business. And the one way that we try and live that, Brad, is once a month in our leadership team, we've got a thing called our dreams dashboard. So basically, we put all the names of our people in our leadership team. And the question is, are you coping and do you feel balanced? Red, green, yellow. And the moment that tips, we look carefully at what's going on and we rethink that to create capacity for our people. So it's always work in progress. We don't have it perfect, but we really try and live the aspiration of that. And I think when I look at the craziness of growing an entrepreneurial business and being in the middle of the madness of being an entrepreneur, just taking that, even if it's a monthly rhythm or a weekly rhythm, to say, am I balanced? Am I coping? In itself can be self-fulfilling.
I love it. I love it. Now, I've got to ask you, this, seeing a theme here, and I'm really genuinely interested in your answer because you've mentioned balance a couple of times. And so for some, this may be semantics. For you, it might be semantics, but I'm really curious about your input here, Orrin. So a lot of people on the podcast have heard me say this, right? So I don't believe in balance. I don't believe it's sustainable. I believe in harmony, and it's just a term. It's a terminology. It's semantics,
Sure.
right? But there's a reason behind it that I teach it and say it. And so I'd be interested in your thoughts. Is balance sustainable? And if so, how so? Would you be willing to share?
For sure. So we've got a methodology where when you do your life goals each year, we've got an iterative process which we do each year, and you recreate your dream board or your dream book. And there's a piece of it where you actually measure your balance. So for us, the interpretation of balance is the 8 spokes of the wheel of life, and you rate yourself out of 10. And it's all relative, you know. So you might be a triathlete, but you're not doing the best times that you used to, and you give yourself a 6 out of 10. Someone might have never done exercise, and they've been doing yoga twice a week, and they're eating better, and they give themselves a 9 out of 10. So it's all relative. So I think that balance lies within you. And at the epicenter of that is you, and this idea or belief you have that you are doing the things that are going to bring out the best in you. And that's really the aspiration of balance. You know, so that's how we interpret it. And look, I mean, I'll be honest, there are times where I don't feel balanced. There are times where I think a whole lot of people in our organization don't feel balanced. You know, acquisitive growth is the primary growth lever in our business. You know, we made it into the Inc. 5000 last year, and that was really primarily because of acquisitive growth, and that continues to be a big part of our growth. And when you look at that, you could say, how can you be balanced if you're growing acquisitively so fast? And the answer for me really lies in the aspirations of our culture. And that's how we try to bring it back.
I love that. Thank you so much for your input, your explanation. I can feel how heart-centered that is and how true and meaningful that is to you. And I really appreciate that input. So I think sometimes, you know, we can get caught up in these words, but what's really powerful, what I see is really powerful in what you're sharing is that you're checking in, you're checking in with your team, and you're asking them, first of all, periodically, right? How balanced are you? That's number one. Number two, you've said it, like it's about, you said relative, but it's about how they're feeling. And that is what is important to culture. And so that really stood out in what you shared. So thank you very much. I really appreciate what you're sharing here.
You know, when you say the word harmony, immediately I gravitated towards something that might be perceived as a contradiction or a conflict in our culture. So we've got this aspiration of balance and you achieving your personal goals and dreams and doing truly great work. But on the other end, we're a meritocracy. We measure everything. Every single person uses the balance scorecard as a performance measurement system on a monthly basis. And maybe in our culture, the word harmony could sit between those two if you're truly successful. So you're really performing and you're able to achieve your balance.
Yep. I love it. So those are the conversations that I really like, because I think they're powerful for people to listen and watch, right? It's really, I mean, on the one side it is semantics, but on the other side it's interpretation, it's meaning. Or what does this mean to you, right? You listening, you watching, and how do we perceive these, and this perspective sharing? That's what podcasts are all about, right? This is how we learn and grow. So I love this conversation. I am with you on the metrics and the measurement, right? If what gets measured gets done, right?
Yes.
So for me, that harmony is, can you handle 16 different roles? And do you have, 5 tasks under each of those? And can you harmonize that? Or are you out of balance at 5? Right? And how do you measure all of that? And do you need some help and support? So I love what you're saying. And I can see how impactful this would be for anybody you're having these conversations with. So I appreciate you.
No, on that topic, there's this amazing book by Greg McKeown and Liz Wiseman. Liz Wiseman wrote my favorite book on leadership, which is called Multipliers. But Greg McKeown and Liz Wiseman wrote a book called The Disciplined Pursuit of Less. And they talk about this idea of a great leader who delivers unbelievably well. And the executive team say, well, you know what, John did such a great job with these 3 things. Let's give him these other 4. And how you end up diluting the impact that you can have. And it's really a powerful, an amazing read or listen on audio. And it just talks about focus and the power of focus. And as an entrepreneur, if I were to share an experience or something I'm going through right now that talks to this power of focus, is I've literally focused in on one major thing, supported by two other things. And I can't tell you, Brad, the accelerated momentum that I'm feeling on a day-to-day basis. There's a book I read recently, and I'm not going to mention the book. I don't think it's really very good, but the one part of it that really resonated for me said, take your calendar, whether you're using Google or Microsoft or whatever, print it out for a month. Take a red marker, an orange marker, and a green marker. And the things that energize you and you feel are playing to your greatest talents, highlight them in green. The things that you're indifferent about, highlight in orange. And the things that really suck your energy, highlight them in red. So I did that. And I was able to leverage that learning, and wow, it's I'm just in an awesome phase, which I pray it continues. But we know as entrepreneurs, there's a surprise around every corner, and anything could happen at any time.
Isn't that the truth? I love this, and I love that you're giving some actionable tips also, because that stuff, when you do a little audit, a little check-in or whatever, that stuff is so powerful. So thank you, Orrin. I really appreciate you. Shifting gears to our next question. What other successful business owners like yourself, of course, ought to be on the Unlimited Wisdom podcast?
Sure. I have so many people that I would recommend. I'm a very active member of Entrepreneurers Organization. I'm a member of EO New York, and I'm a member of YPO Manhattan. So there are a whole lot of people in both EO and YPO that I would like to put forward. If they are interested, how should they follow up with you, Brad? What is the best way? Or would you rather I put them forward, you review them and see if it's a fit? What is the best way to put forward people?
Yeah, it's I love that. You're the first person that's ever made that kind of offer. So I love that. Of course, just without making this long and drawn out, go to the website, buildbrilliance.net. On the podcast page, at the end of the page, would you like to be on the podcast? And they can sign up right there. Nice and easy. Thanks for asking that question. I love it.
No, brilliant.
Amazing. So let's get to the crux of this, right? I know you have so much wisdom to share. You've already given some actionable information, some really powerful thoughts. What from your vast experience, what piece of wisdom would you share with other business owners from what you've walked through and what you're walking through?
Yeah, if I were to do one, more from an experience share, so I think I've spoken to focus already, but I'll just talk about a little bit of a personal experience I've had. And so last year was a crazy year, man. In February, I woke up on a Tuesday morning and I saw all these missed calls on my phone, and I saw tons of messages. I hadn't quite woken up properly, and immediately I thought something happened to Liesl, something happened to my daughter. And then immediately I thought something happened to my dad. Anyway, long story short, my brother had passed away. He was epileptic. He had a grand mal seizure, and during that he had a heart attack. So that was in February, and that hit me like a bus, man. He was the strongest of all of us, fit, doing his best triathlon times. And then my aunt, the only aunt on my dad's side, passed away in May. And I was very close to her. She was in her 80s, so it was, an easier thing to absorb, but still sad. So that was in April. And then my dad passed away in May. And my dad was getting older, but we didn't see it coming. Thank God I got to spend 2 weeks. He lived with us for 2 weeks before he passed, which was just the most amazing gift, because he'd actually never spent that amount of time in my home. And So Brad, I'm an optimist through and through and through. I have no issue finding positive energy and seeing bright light in my life. I had about 3-4 months where things were very, very, very dark. And I was, so I was trying to wrap my mind around this, and I was trying to, find the brightness in my life again. And, so a friend of mine invited me to an exercise challenge. He said, we're going to exercise 45 minutes a day for the next 75 days. We're starting on Wednesday. Are you in? And I just thought, man, I need this. And so I did it. And these guys are hardcore. So there's intense accountability. We've got a WhatsApp group, and we check in. You've got to report on your workout. You've got to show, what your watch recorded, heart rate, calories, all of that. And I can tell you now, it just pulled me out of this darkness. And I read a quote, and I was trying to remember it, that also just made me think, dream not small dreams, for they stir not the hearts of men. Something like that. I probably hashed it up a little bit. And I just thought, if my dad wanted anything of me, it was to make the most of every flipping day I have left. So anyway, I was eating really badly in the time. I'd put on a lot of weight. I was really the most depressed, dark place I'd ever been. And then I did this first 75 days. And because I was exercising too much, I was overeating. And then in the next 75 days, I signed up again. I stacked other habits on top of that. I got on top of my eating. And I'm probably today in the best place I've ever been in my life. And I suppose it's a bit of a long story that I've shared for your question, but what I'm trying to say is the best thing I can do to be there for my business and deliver for our customers and be there for our people and my family is be the best Orrin that I can be. And there's a daily rhythm and habit that's so the first goal in my dream book for this year is daily discipline. So that's where I've taken it from. So anyway, long-winded answer, but I hope that kind of came across clearly.
Great. A couple of things I really wanted to celebrate you for. One, telling stories is amazing. So you shared this powerful story about yourself. Your transparency and honesty and just forthrightedness stands out to me throughout the podcast, and just the way you share. Right. You're not trying to fluff stuff up and sling this and that. You're just being real, and that stands apart.
Thank you.
And just, so the way you shared that and the power in what you're saying. So reading between the lines, pulling out the most concentrated, focused words, right? You're talking about habits. You're talking about, daily habits and dreams and how people feel and what's driving you. And then the story that you just shared to me, and I've had lots of conversations about who's the most important relationship you have. And I'll stand in rooms of 1,000 and ask this question. You get a variety of answers, right? Mom, dad, God, spouse, whoever it is, right? But what I've found is the most important relationship, and whether you're honoring God, however you want to frame that, right? It's got to be with yourself. And so what I pulled out of what you just said is, through that process of working out and taking care of yourself, and through all these hard times, you created a deeper relationship with yourself, and that's powerful stuff. So
that's it.
I want to celebrate you for the way you shared all of that.
Thank you.
Throughout the podcast. Very, very aligned. So there's power in alignment. Thank you, Orrin.
No, and thanks for listening. I do a few podcasts. The first time I've shared that, and it feels good. So thank you. And you heard it exactly.
I love it. I ask this of every guest that comes on, and I'm really curious about the most fun vacation you've ever had. But before I go there, I want to ask you something really important, because you've been somewhat humble throughout this podcast, and you've got some amazing stuff going on business-wise. And I'd like you just to speak into what kind of initiatives you're driving in, who you're helping, who you're serving, how you're helping them. Share with the audience a little bit about what you really have going on business-wise, so we get them excited to want to reach out to you.
No, thank you. Thank you for that opportunity. So, if I look at in the early days of the business, what got me excited was about leveraging technology to have a real impact on the success of business. So when you look at our customers, we're looking at sort of 25 to 1,000 user environments. So if you're worried about the operational support and management of your IT environment, please reach out. Or if you're a Microsoft user, you've got Office 365, and you've got a business in that space that I just mentioned, and you're trying to find the ROI opportunities, productivity, automation, we actually have a managed services agreement called Innovate, where if you're paying us, say, $2,000 a month, we will find $24,000 of ROI within the first 12 months, or we'll carry on working until we find it. So that's the one area I'm deeply passionate about and feel proud of. And then the other bucket is a big part of our growth strategy is around finding other entrepreneurs in the MSP, managed service provider space, that are wanting to join us on this journey of consolidation that is happening in the managed services space. So if you have a business anywhere between $3 to $9 million in revenue, and you're looking to find a home for your people, where the culture that really appreciates and cherishes your people, a home for your customers, and another chapter in your journey, please reach out to us.
Love that. Thank you so much for sharing that. Orrin, I think you've probably traveled a little bit. What's the most favorite vacation you've ever had?
Sure. I've been blessed to travel so much, and it's one of those things. I look at my dream book now. I was just in a Dream Connect with one of our team, and the one slide is called Adventure. And I've got 3 different trips that I'm doing this year that I'm unbelievably excited about. But probably, we didn't have, financially, we were not very well off. And so I didn't get to travel much as a child. And in my second last year of school, my brother that passed last year was very successful very early on. So he bought me a ticket to travel to Peru. So I flew I was in South Africa at the time. I flew from South Africa to Lisbon to Rio, and then Rio to Lima. And there I was, Brad, this 16-year-old kid. And my brother was just my hero, and it really opened up my eyes. We went to Lima first, and then from Lima, we went to Puerto Maldonado, which is a jungle town. And then, first we went to Cusco. Then Cusco, we went to Puerto Maldonado. And then Puerto Maldonado, we took a boat up the Madre de Dios, which is a tributary of the Amazon River. And I mean, I could talk for an hour around this, but it was the biggest, eye-opening, mind-expanding. So never having traveled internationally, my first overseas trip, I end up in the Amazon jungle. It was just the most amazing trip.
I love that. You get me excited about traveling to those places as well. Now, I just appreciate you. Again, I want to highlight you. I want to showcase you. I want to celebrate you for taking a chunk out of your day to be here to serve, to speak into what you're doing, to be able to serve other people. And I want to thank you for all the initiatives you're working on as well. And I just want to thank you, for being real, and just hopping on this podcast and being here to serve. That's what I like to call it. So thank you very much. When somebody watches this or they listen to it and they say, this guy, Orrin, I got to reach out. I got to see what he's made of, or, how do I get in contact with him? What's the best way for them to reach out to you?
The easiest way is on LinkedIn. I'm unbelievably responsive. So it's just Orrin, ORRIN, and then Klopper, KLOPPER on LinkedIn. You can message me. I'm unbelievably responsive and welcome any engagement.
I love that. And we'll also have the website down below too, in case you want to check out the website. Some
Fantastic.
people, they don't want to reach out directly, but they want to go scope some stuff. So we'll have the website for
Thank
you.
you.
Once again, thank you so much for being on the Unlimited Wisdom podcast. Appreciate you.
Thank you, Brad. Really appreciate it.
This is Brad A. Milford with the Unlimited Business Wisdom Podcast, where leaders, seasoned entrepreneurs, and business owners share their wisdom. If you're looking for more on leadership, sales, marketing, or operations to drive team development, higher quality, and high-level sustainable profits, we encourage you to join the Built for Brilliance community on Facebook or reach out to us about one of our mastermind groups, coaching or consulting, or even fractional COO services. You can reach us at buildbrilliance.net/contact. We thank you for listening, for sharing the show, and appreciate your rating and reviews, as this makes more shows possible. Thanks for joining us.